Speaking from Margin is a collaborative initiative by scholars from different universities to build academic solidarity and engage with contemporary knowledge paradigm of social sciences. The platform has strengthened immensely from contributions by noted scholars like Professor Nivedita Menon, Professor Rajiv Bhargav, Professor Kanta, and Professor Nandini Sundar, among others. Moreover, Professor Zoya Hassan also joined us for our inaugural series on book discussion. Today, we are here to talk about a recently published book titled Caste Discrimination and Exclusion in Indian Universities, a Critical Reflection, authored by our speaker, Professor N. Sukumar. Professor Sukumar teaches political science at the University of Delhi and is acknowledged for his research studies on human rights, social exclusion, caste-based discrimination, and public institutions, to just name some of them. Currently, he is exploring the idea of Dalit citizenship and anti-caste utopia. Apart from his contributions as an academician, Professor Sukumar has been actively involved in grassroots struggles of wider community. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you at our evolving forum. Before we begin, let me outline the structure of today's discussion. So we have tried to focus on the theme, Mapping Discrimination, a Methodological Inquiry into Institutions of Higher Learning. At this stage, I would also like to introduce our discussant, Rana, a PhD scholar in the Department of Modern Indian Languages and Literary Studies at the University of Delhi. He is currently working on Dalit literature. The discussant would briefly introduce the core idea of the book in about 10 minutes, which will be followed by Professor Sukumar's discussion in nearly 30 to 40 minutes. And then we would finally open up the discussion for our participants for question answers and comments, if any. So we may begin, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Akanksha. So, Jai Bhim, everyone. Good evening, sir. So, I would like to say thanks to Sukumar sir and Vidyasagar Bhai for this opportunity for me. And so about the book. So it is very well known fact that Indian society is a hierarchical society with plethora of castes and its subcastes and cultures entwined with them, and of course religions. So we will get to see, like, for the sake of rationalism. So nowadays millennials are like they're striving so hard to give up on their caste. So when they are in the public, so they are in a sense of maintaining a decorum. They just give up their caste, and they are like self-appreciating for being so rational. Like in generally, I find it very cute, but in much more real sense, I find it very naive. So just they say that there is no caste in wherever the field that they are moving. So there is no caste. So just because they don't see it. I mean, here there are no victims to see the caste in the first place. So I mean, they're just following the trend that was set by their precedents. Like, for example, they just the president says that hoist the tiranga on your verandas for Independence Day. I mean, I find it a bit offensive when they say it's tiranga. You know, they're conveniently ignoring the fourth color in our national flag, which is symbolic of Ashok Dharmachakra. So reasons aside why they ignore it, we know why they ignore it. So it is like a matter of surprise for me, like how the privileged persons are not cognizant yet feel so superior and entitled when it comes to their caste in these spaces. And so during these tumultuous times, where most of this generation people, right from the beginning, or turning blind to their privilege and culture capital, this book, which currently under discussion, Caste Discrimination and Exclusion in Indian Universities, is written by Professor Sukumar sir. It is a compilation of facts with evidences and stats. It's a collection of real life stories, and it is so every dominant caste person who has forgotten their privilege only when they come into a sphere that has no equal level of ground and see some sort of competition, then they recalls their favorite subject, which is merit. In fact, that's the only defense that they have for to cover up their incompetence. I mean, in my experience talking, a quantas of mine who is from a chemistry background, who doesn't even know the difference between baking soda and washing soda, he just shouts, towards Dalits, like not only Dalits, whoever availing these reservations, affirmative action, they just shout that this country is not for reserved, this country is for deserved. So we come across a lot of that sort of people. So the book discusses about the marginalized students' university life in India, starting from the admission process to completion of the course. Also, the classroom activities to the allotment of hostels. So the practices that we see in mess, the food practices, or the kind of division that they set in each and every edifice of the university building. It also elucidates on the subtle ways of discriminatory practices that's been happening in the university premises. So this book, philosophically and theoretically, it is a well organized book with the multiple case studies about sufferings and with also the empirical data on the representation of Dalits in the Indian academia. So it also has many cases of universities sponsored institutional murders of the marginalized students, and the case studies of the personal sufferings of many Dalit students across the India. It's like a ethnographical text. So it has the book with the book is presented with the contents like the caste and academia, which states which introduces us about the caste in the academics in different universities, and the definition of privilege and the definition of merit. We are going to see them, and the history and the empirical data of Dalits and higher education in India. And the book has it has said how the universities it has presented universities in 3 different ways. Like in the first, with respect to Bourdieu, they have said that one minute. So sorry, there is a technical glitch. So yeah, the book sets speaks about the universities, how they are being very unlevel spaces, provide unlevel spaces for the students when it comes to this competition in the name of merit. And it also discusses about
You are
Kunal, you are muted.
please muted. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
oh sorry. So am I audible now?
Rana, be precise.
Yes.
Bind ups.
Yeah. So the book, right in the beginning, the book discusses about the social capital, and through the social capital, how it gives privilege to the people, and the merit and privilege, and universities acting as the sites of exclusion when it comes to the marginalized students, and how the reservations have been reduced to a political strategy rather than a means for rectifying historical injustices. So we all know how socially privileged just don't welcome marginalized. So the old age practices of exclusion could be seen right now even in each and every university. So the book is presented with the data on these sort of practices with evidences and case studies ranging from IITs to state universities. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Rana. We would now invite Sir to discuss and.
Yeah, thank you very much, Akanksha. First of all, can I take 45 minutes time, please? Is it okay with the organizers?
Yes, sir.
I'll try to wind up maybe before that, but
yeah, but it's fine, sir.
Because since I'm speaking to mostly research scholars and young students who are into the research thing, so that I just want, since it is also slightly I planned this research this talk more on the methodological concerns when Vidyasagar asked. So therefore, it might help students who sincerely thinking about facing the problems in their methodological concerns. But though my study, I will be focusing on this book and the methods which I have used to understand the idea of discrimination. But broadly, I think they can also try to shape their methods when it comes to their topic. So therefore, I would be taking slightly, more time, like 45 minutes. First of all, let me really thank speaking for margins. Speaking from margins, when Vidya long back, and in fact, my sincere apologies to Vidya, that when he asked that I said I can speak, but for some other reason it went on postponing. I went on postponing, but finally I realized that no, it is high time. I think I need to speak from this platform. Where young researchers from different universities are more into discussing about different issues and books. I also thank Rana, Mrunal Rana, and Akanksha, and also all other team members. Team members, who are there in this group now, and also I can see some of the people who are part of this research. I acknowledge them. I also duly acknowledge the institution and the sponsoring agencies in this process. Am I audible, Akanksha? Is it okay? Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Now, when we generally when we start our research or when we start about any project to study, what happens, what would be the major concerns that how do we take this study ahead, or how do we conduct research, or how do we problematize the research concerns which we are trying to look into, especially in social sciences. We do look into how do we problematize the concerns which we are trying to understand. When 1990s, when I was so therefore my as I said that I'm trying to give you the background. So I'm trying to divide my lecture into the background which made me to try to articulate and understand the Dalit students or scheduled caste students problems and concerns within the higher educational institutions. So I'm not going to focus on theory and many other concerns or purely on data, which I spoke on different platforms. But I'll be speaking more in that what made, what really triggered, and how we can contextualize this scheduled caste students' problems, or Dalit students' problems in the higher educational institutions, and how one can understand historically, or how or what is the background of these kind of problems. So till 90s, when I was masters young, I finished my graduation and I joined in masters in 1991. when there was a Mandal Commission, Mandal agitations was there. Mandal Commission agitations in all the campuses across the country. So before that, there was not at all a heated debate on the issues of reservations. Though the policy exists, but there was a kind of debate that has been ignited by the Mandal Commission. It has literally polarized the campuses into two different spaces. Number one, pro-Mandal groups and the anti-Mandal groups. So this has made, when I entered into Hyderabad University, frequently as a young student, what I used to hear that the identity clashes among the among the students, the social dominance which I try to understand, and the questions of merit and the reserved category like quotas, children. So these are the prevalent terms which were hugely or band-aid, or you can say that hugely debated across the campuses, and also various around this also see, there was a lot of caste conflicts, especially in Andhra Pradesh at that point of time when Sundur carnage happened, and as young students we were all trying to come with some kind of social solidarity, how to protect this idea of reservations, how to protect this idea of constitutionally guaranteed concerns like reservations. So you come across with we used to come across with multiple caste identities, reserved categories, communities, disciplinary binaries as science, technology, professional courses, because Hyderabad University was completely divided. All science courses as professional courses were completely stood for anti-Mandal agitations. Humanities and social science students largely they were fighting for pro-Mandal agitations, and on the similar lines the faculty has also been divided. So these kind of identities, caste identities, professional groupings within the campuses has created a huge kind of consciousness among as a young adolescent mind. Then, or as a young mind, then one witnessed epistemic injustices. As a student, when I witnessed some sort of injustices like denial of PhD seats, though you will be having PhD seats but you don't fill it, and denial of filling up all the seats for including post-graduation, and using the star mark against the scheduled caste students in their selected list, which is again supposed to be a merit list, but you need to add certain kind of star marks against the names when it comes to the selection of the candidates in the entrance examinations, XYZ. So these kind of epistemic injustices lacked the vocabulary to contextualize such occurrences within the classroom interactions with the peer group. So therefore, there was not much debate has took place. So how do we contextualize these problems was one major concept. Then, of course, there was very and the lot of student emerged, Dalit student organizations, like Ambedkar students associations, Dalit students unions or associations, and much more recently after Rohit Vimla's incident, Ambedkar Periyar, Ambedkar Pule, Ambedkar Bhagat Singh, associations, all these associations has, and also UDSF, and then a lot of other organizations like BAPSA, how these students associations has played a very positive role in generating a confidence among these sections of the society within the campus lives. Therefore, as a young student, I had an impact of the Dalit students organizations or Ambedkar students organizations role, that how do we deeply looking to these kind of injustices, like epistemic injustices that is happening around, and being part of that, struggling for justice. I still remember, around 100 Dalit students going and garaving the Telugu department head when I was in masters. Think about, the level of, consciousness that Mandal Commission has ignited in our minds. And until they had given the seat within 48 hours, we have not given up the struggle. So therefore, the seat was not filled, and we insisted that the seats need to be filled. Okay, so first generation of Dalits Dalit students who started entering into university campuses, and there was a kind of huge backlash for these Brahminical forces within the campuses, tried to prevent these forces to entering into the different disciplines, and science becomes a major contested domain. Science disciplines, professional disciplines becomes a major contested domains, where many teachers were thinking that, okay, whether these spaces are being encroached by this quota children. So therefore, this was the background where one needs to understand this. We can't, whenever you are doing such kind of research, we can't just, immediately get into a kind of, research problem. Many of us students, what we do, researchers, what we do, we try to, map some kind of persons, and then we go without knowing how one can bring the background towards to this context, and how this background will help us in designing the questionnaire, and how this questionnaire will help us in bringing out the concrete outcomes, results which we try to prove our objectives, Of course, with a lot of, very good, positive, humane teachers and administrative officials on campuses provided a much needed moral support. At times what we do, and therefore, when I was speaking at the CSDS, the organizer asked me, why you did not add the positive notion? There were people who supported, or there were people who stood for, to protect the interests of these category students. So therefore, I did, try to look into the humane faculty and administration. Therefore, they have provided much more moral support, and they stood for social justice and Ambedkarite politics. So therefore, how I did brought the context in how this evolved in the process, and how it has become a major. And now, see, I can divide this pre-Rohit Vemula and post-Rohit Vemula concerns. And so therefore, I tried to understand pre-Rohit Vemula Dalit student politics in the campuses, and our Dalit student struggles in the campuses to challenge these discriminatory attitudes, and post-Rohit Vemula concerns also, which I have tried to understand. Because therefore, this is a kind of 14 years of my journey, which I started writing something when Senthil Kumar was no more in the campus. Anyway, so then I tried to bring the neoliberal agenda of education, how the situation has become very grim, very gray, where the vulnerable of the first generation of SC students who desire to enter university spaces has becoming started again. Now see, now with this new education, new national educational policy has again brought this agenda of pushing the Dalit students to drop out, with whatever the struggles which they have led to build these universities as a spaces which can be, they can encroach into these spaces. So therefore, this attempt of this first generation Dalit students is being again prevented. There is a possibility of prevention of these students through exit policy by this National Educational Policy 2020. I also bought this National Education Policy at the end, though at the end I was writing this book. Then believe in 2010, again, that one major incident that occurred in Hyderabad University. Therefore, Hyderabad University becomes my setting up the field background where I have studied. And there was 10 students who were first generation learners, children from agricultural and daily wage labor background, were rusticated and slapped with police cases by Hyderabad Central University for creating a ruckus over increasing mess charges and the demotion of the warden who belongs to the scheduled caste. So therefore, this conflict led towards to such an extent where these 10 students who were majorly playing a leading role in fighting for injustices within the campus. Fighting for injustices within the campus. So what happened, all these scholars who have been slapped police cases and they have been shunted out. Can you believe that? The administration with all kind of, and there was a report by Anveshi, which, if you look into these reports, and there was a lot of debates, that went on, and two professors from the department, which I have studied in Hyderabad University, they came out with writing rejoinder towards to the Anveshi report, which Anveshi report stood for justice for these 10 Dalit students, and these two professors, who is still in the service in Hyderabad University, came out with a write-up challenging the report and saying that, from the Department of Political Science in HU, reduced their entire episode. They have reduced the entire episode as an attempt justification of violence in conjunction with identity politics. See, therefore, one needs to understand. One needs to understand how, if teachers themselves becomes an instrument of practicing discrimination or perpetuating, such kind of, practices in the university spaces. So I was trying to understand, how this thing can really happen, and where a major student association was playing Dalit student or Ambedkarite Students Association was playing a major role in challenging these dominant discourses. And then I tried to look into, Toret committee reports. I will bring those things again as a second part, and then I'll move to my little bit on questionnaire. What are the concerns which I have looked into my in the questionnaire. When Toret committee has been formed in to look into the discriminatory practices of on SC/ST students, the students in fact suffer from abuse and humiliation and violence. The best example which I can, it's not only students. It is not only students. The much recent example which I can quote is that just a couple of days before, the Dalit professor himself killed in Jammu University. I don't know how many of you are aware about this, news. Just a couple of days before. Okay, and this professor was slammed with different kind of, a report which talks about at a time 25 girls filing a sexual harassment complaint against him at a time. And there was, I'm yet to look into all the details of this particular case, but similar incident which I witnessed in Delhi University constituent colleges, where one of a known Dalit painter in Delhi College of Art has been fixed, pre-planned and fixed, filing a sexual harassment case against this teacher and suspending him. And this teacher, stood and he fought against this injustice that happened with him, and he went to the court, and the court gives a clean chit to him. So, yesterday when I was reading this, how the politics of presence as trying to understand, how it is very important for not only if teachers are facing such kind of discrimination in higher educational institution, and one can think about the plight of, Dalit students. Therefore, how one needs to understand the issues of ragging within the campus spaces. Okay, AIMS is a major, incident of. Therefore, students when they committed suicide, the Toret, committee, went on into looking into these problems. Then, in 2008, when I said that, what made me, as I already joined in Delhi University by that time in 2008. Senthil Kumar committed suicide in his hostel room, and as I already mentioned in the different talks, that it took 48 hours to figure out where is Senthil Kumar. So his lab mates failed to find out, his wing mates failed to find out, his hostel mates failed to find out, his supervisor failed to find out, his close friends failed to find out, different organizations failed to find out where is Senthil Kumar for 48 hours. And after his body was decomposed and the rotten smell was coming out from his room, his body was found, and he was repeatedly failed by the university department in his language course, which he was supposed to clear so that he can avail fellowship, so that he can help to his family. I came to know about this news, and entire night I was not able to sleep. And in the hostel which I stayed for more than 8 years, and I can think that what kind of dehumanized human relations that are prevailing in the university spaces these days. So I was not able to sleep, and in fact next day I decided to write that methodology. I decided to write. There was no as such a method which I really followed. Though I had some kind of broad method which I adopted to write this book. And over a period of time, I evolved different methods to incorporate in the book, and it reached the book full form when Rana was introducing that how this book has case narratives or chapters on institutional murders or / suicides. All these things, and also the data, the Aishi reports data, all this comes through a method which I have adopted over a period of time while working on this book. So generally what happens, we tend to worry about what method, and the other day I was talking to one of the research scholars, and that research scholar brought not less than 8 to 10 kind of different methods which he or she want to bring into the study. So what I did, I never had one particular fixed method. I located myself as a subject while writing a paper for a conference in Delhi University. I located myself as a subject and tried to see that how Dalit students face different forms of discrimination, whether it is intendingly or unintendingly, or institutional, non-institutional, peer group, teacher, all these things. I try to say that my experience in Hyderabad University as a student 10 years, that what happens, why this thing happens. So I just wrote a story, narrative, what exactly, which I have witnessed with my eyes, which I have heard with my ears, and which I have seen, which I have participated, and how this is the story of every Dalit student, if not every, majority of Dalit students who come from first generation, who try to negotiate their spaces within the campus. So what I did, I tried to locate classroom as one major space. How within the classroom the discrimination happens. Who discriminates? What are the different forms of discrimination? How this discrimination can be quantified. Quantifying discrimination. Social consequences, social psychological consequences of discrimination, which I brought much later. But in that paper, I used classroom, outside the classroom, that means the general campus life, and then the hostel as another major location. Classroom, hostel, and the general campus life. So 3 different locations which I tried to pinpoint in that paper, and I presented it, and there were the unbelievable academic audience. They were not able to believe that how can I bring out such kind of things at the time when it was 2009, 9-10, that was the time. So frequently what happened, these processes go unnoticed, like when people die, people were ragged, and the seats were not filled. Many seats they won't fill, but there was nobody to question. Our organizations was there, but though the administration's approach towards to these organizations are completely casteist approach. Then how one needs to, and then I tried to look into the everyday life, the unexamined everyday life of students. What Brunal Rana was mentioning about that, the difference of that, the what is that surf? What is that you were mentioning about something, Brunal? What was that? Sorry, that was very interesting.
About my acquaintance who is from chemistry, that one, sir.
No, that you were talking about some surf or cleaning the substance or something which there was anyway. So so how one can understand these struggles? There were students who doesn't have money to buy their basic necessities like soap. People think that no, how is it possible? It is possible. It is possible. Whether daily wage labor background, family background, it is possible that 500 rupees getting from their parents as a pocket money is a huge amount. Those days, no scholarships, no fellowships. Unlike now, whether it is Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship, whether it is other forms of fellowship, that was not the case. It was only the government fellowships. If you get the fellowship, fine. Otherwise, you have to fight. You have to struggle. You have to struggle within the campus spaces. From the paste, using the paste, soap, oil, and you stink. You don't have much money to wash your clothes every day, and the all kinds of issues which and I have witnessed many Dalit students after their coursework who cannot get seats in their subsequent years of journey. They used to stay as the illegal guests within quotes, illegal guests, and then they used to go and sneak into the mess when the leftover food was being consumed, which was kept on the tables at 10 o'clock in the night, where dogs and cats were eating at another place, and these boys and used to have. I'm not trying to humiliate these identity. The struggles which these students have made when I was student. That is very important. There is a sense of this rebellious kind of attitude by these students over a period of time in campuses by witnessing such kind of things. So therefore, movements, Dalit students, movements in the campuses are very important role which they played, and I took it as and in fact, in identifying samples, I have much relied on these marginal student associations like Dalit Students Association, Unions Associations, Ambedkar Students Associations, different kind of groups. Basically, and also I have utilized my own experiences. So what I did while writing this book, I tried to utilize my own experiences, both as a student and as a faculty in Delhi University, wherein I was also called upon to perform my caste identities as an observer or different kind of official procedures. And then finally, the study is based on, how survey, it's like basic survey research has been used in a selected universities through structured questionnaire. Further, the problem of caste discrimination is foregrounded by taking recourse to debate on prejudices, stigma. How prejudices, the word prejudices, stigma, humiliation, which impacts the social psychology of the individual and the community within the campus. So how stigma, quota child as a stigma, how this stigma operates in the minds of the people. Okay, how this stigma leads towards to humiliating these quota children. What kind of words, what kind of practices that are being perpetuated by the dominant communities, dominant caste groups, is one thing which I have tried to understood both theoretically and also empirically. And the narratives of campus life can lead to meaningful engagement with communities of learners, teachers and researchers in claiming the right to narrate, and in doing so, to foster grassroots knowledge work. I mean, how I try to, then, what I did when this study is like, different, phases study. This study has been sponsored by ICSSR, and two different levels I conducted. First, I conducted study in 4 universities, and which I was not at all happy with the way I developed personnel and the way I tried to conceptualize, theoretically develop my arguments. So then I again approached the same research institute for extending, further giving me another project. So therefore, the second project comes in, and then I made it as a 10 university studies, including the 4 universities which I have studied previously. And that is how this thing has, came out as a volume. And one more thing which has become a major important source for me. So it is not only like in this 2013 guidelines, UGC guidelines, which the present study, the present book has based its template, in fact. The Act goes on great deal about the notions of what constitutes discrimination, and its fallouts in the universities and the means to institute a level playing field. It focuses on implementing reservations, equitable behavior in the classroom, laboratory, denial of necessary facilities for completion of courses, name calling and stigmatizing the identities of SC students, and the strict implementation of provisions of safeguarding the rights of the students belongs to these communities. So 2013 guidelines talks about all these things. But why universities are not seriously taking it into consideration? Why universities completely ignored Thorat Committee's recommendations? In Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College, when 25 students were repeatedly failed consequently in 2 years, and there was a Ambedkar committee report, and that was also kept aside. So we need to, so the detailed provisions of this Act help to map the patterns of discrimination in higher educational institutions. Those who are, after this book came out, many students are approaching that, whether they are already doing their research work on these areas, these concerns. And also, how one needs to understand, and especially more on the gender question also. And this patterns of discrimination in higher educational institutions, it also seeks to interrogate the differential. It also interrogated the differential treatment meted out to scheduled caste students who get admission through affirmative action in institutions of higher learning, and most importantly, as I already mentioned, the psychosocial consequences of discrimination. What happens when you are discriminated? Why Rohit Vemla asked a piece of rope? What made? If you try, why Senthil Kumar was killed? Why Payal Tadvi? Brutal, murder in the respective medical institution happened. So what makes these people to become more vulnerable in the campuses? That they are subjected to by the peer group, and all these things are subjected to from the peer group, administration, and the larger academia. So the university, universe of the study, encompassed 10 universities across the country. I'll wind up within 10 minutes, Akanksha, if I'm not taking much more time. The universe of the study encompasses 10 universities across the country, 5 state universities and 5 central universities, across disciplines, both male and female. And in fact, interestingly, we also have a couple of respondents who belongs to the alternative sexual identities. 5 universities are based on metropolitan centers, and 5 are located in smaller cities across the country. Why did I pick up this? Whether what is their role? I mean, whether these universities which are old or relatively young are located in, city spaces or even small towns or similar smaller cities across the country, what would be the impact? Or is there any kind of, difference between these kind of, city and, urban and semi-urban, state and central universities? I did witness the different, the results were quite interesting. So 600 students consisting of 60 students from each university with a detailed data analysis and selected case narratives. So why did selected case narratives come in? I never had any idea of doing the selected case narratives. What happened when I was trying to look into the questionnaire, few of our researchers who went into the field and came back with a lot of insights. So they said that there are interesting case narratives which one can look into and explain the problem much more in detail. And therefore I adopted interpretative phenomenological analysis, which in the beginning when I was doing this work, I didn't know about this method. And later on, when I came to know about through one of the readings which I did mention in this work, I tried to look into this reading and I also adopted this particular method to understand these case narratives, to bring these case narratives into the picture. And because the wire which is the online portal, which also brings the stories of these discriminated campus lives. So I try to bring certain stories from them. I duly acknowledge it. I also duly, I followed ethical consents more when it comes to, all these, when I follow these work. So the case narratives comes in. And the research is also based on in-depth face-to-face interviews. In-depth face-to-face interviews, and the questionnaire runs to 23 pages, 550 entries, which with question and sub-questions, sub-questions and sub-questions, and also open-ended at the end, both for qualitative and quantitative analysis. Qualitative and quantitative analysis. And these face-to-face interviews who express their willingness to be part of. It is not that, you are not part of that, willing to be part of this thing. So therefore we took their, consent and willingness. And the sample selected are not homogeneous, though they are scheduled caste students, there are difference of region, language, economic status, subcaste and gender. All these things which were kept in the mind when I was trying to look into the problem of caste discrimination. Whether caste discrimination happens within the caste, within the subcaste, concepts. Gender also. Because male Dalit student can discriminate female Dalit student. Not only outside from the other caste, but also within the caste. Then the samples were selected through purposive snowball sampling. It's a purposive study, which I picked up. So sometimes, we identified, sometimes we went through the snowball sampling I used. And different Dalit students organization teachers helped in identifying these samples. The first round of questionnaire was tested in 2 universities, one central and one state university, and concerns raised in the field were ironed out in the subsequent survey. So therefore we came back, it took 3 months for us to sit. In fact, I involved students and a few teacher experts to be part of making this questionnaire. It took 3 months for us to prepare questionnaire itself. It was a very laborious kind of work, which very painstakingly we undertook. And then this questionnaire comprises of, therefore, I'm trying to bring this last part of my concerns, and then I will leave. I'll stop. So this the detailed questionnaire which comprises. I never, and after came back from the field, testing my questionnaire in 2 universities. This questionnaire comprises of various segments, like from the background of the students, the background of the students, what background they come from, okay? And their personal details with different kind of parental background and what kind of financial needs where they come from, whether they are financially self-sufficient, from parents, relatives, friends, XYZ. Then I also try to focus into the occupational background of the family to map what led these students to face such kind of problems. Therefore, what I did, how do they understand the idea of university? When it comes to the enrollment section, how did they conceive the idea of university or a college? What is the university for them? Some said, gaining knowledge, some said attaining degree, some said, employment, all these things. There are different kind of, reasons which they give that what is the university meant for, or higher education is meant for, and what motivated them to join in the campuses, universities, or colleges, whether, self-motive or different kind of things, okay? Then, whether this, the increasing online mode of process is inclusive, because there are many places where in rural spaces where many students who doesn't have these technological gadgets, and now you are compelled to go to the cyber cafes and do all these things. So therefore, the admission process to filling up form and everything, whether what is really, inclusive, whether they face these kind of things very inclusive or not, and whether the basic fundamental thing which I started, whether do they face Viva, or whether what do they think about the Viva inherently, whether it reflects the discriminatory attitude possessed by practitioners, okay? And from the segments of enrollment to scholarships to fellowships. And when it comes to scholarships and fellowships, why is that, do they really avail scholarship? And then majority of the students, they said 70 to 80% of students, they said, yes, we avail fellowship and we avail scholarships. And without this scholarship, they cannot survive in the campuses. They cannot survive. And then what kind of scholarship, whether they get regularly in time or not. Even still, last year also, before pandemic, many students used to complain that saying that the government is not releasing the funds to the universities so that they can regularly avail their scholarships. So this also has been mapped. And what happens, suppose if you are completely dependent on the scholarship money which is being, you are dependent, suppose if it is stopped, what would be your plight in the campuses? How will you survive? You will be thrown out from the hostel if you don't pay your hostel mess fee. You will be thrown out from the university if you don't pay your regular semester fee. Okay, so all these things, I try to map the reasons for this delay in scholarships. Okay, whether the full amount has been sanctioned or not. To cut short, there are many things which I deeply try to look into. Okay, and I also try to brought that how the other caste students respond when they come to know about the granting of fellowship for SC/ST students. Do they feel happy, appreciation, surprise, despair, unworthy? What would be the response of this peer group? And what kind of comments they receive from those students, whether they are worthy, whether the fellowships are for granted for them, whether they deserve or not, all kinds of comments which I try to map. Then when it comes to the classroom, who indiscriminately start at who discriminates them in the classroom? Where do they sit? Their place, this location, space itself within the classroom plays a major role for a first generation learner in the classroom. And their low level confidence, I used to sit at the back bench because I was so scared. I was not at all a confident person when I entered into my university space. Where do they sit? And why at that particular place? Mentioning the reason, whether they're comfortable, not comfortable because of the friends, for better concentration or not having friends, preventing classroom interactions. So therefore, what I try to probe, do they really think classroom provides equal space or not? Okay? And with whom do they interact more in the classroom? Same language, same gender. I also brought language as a major concern. One of my research scholar is working on language as a contested concern within the classroom or university spaces. And the students, what, as a student belongs to this particular community, do they face discrimination? Yes, no, what? Then what? Caste, class, religion, or, gender, appearance, or, body language, ideological. Okay, and who discriminates more? Upper caste, backward caste students, same caste students, lower caste girls, upper class students, class, English medium students, n number of things which we minutely identified. If not all these things, any other specified. Okay, any other specified. Because we need to understand if there is something which we missed out. We tried to discuss that what would be the possible answer from the respondent, and then also we tried to keep it as open-ended, that whether if these answers or these these choices are not there for them. And of course there was multiple choices which they can go on. There could be one or two reasons for their discrimination, so therefore they can mark multiple responses within the same question. Then how classroom, lab spaces, canteens also becomes the sign spots of these discrimination. Okay, language differences, and then how do they feel while spending time with the students belongs to dominant caste? That one needs to understand the social psychological dimension. So therefore, excluded, oppressed, assertive, comfortable, humiliation, discriminated, silence, uncomfortable, stigmatized, inferior, fearful, benevolence. These are the things which I try to map. And then, positive reasons, negative reasons for each and everything. Similarly, with the faculties within the classroom. Okay, I would like to just, explain 2, 3, and then I will stop. So, do teachers discriminate in the classroom? Like for example, whether marking and grading discrimination, not providing reading material or reading guidelines, material guidelines, non-approval of term papers, non-cooperation and rejection of thesis, non-cordial working relationships, gender-based discrimination, ideological contradictory relations. So within the classroom, how these things happens? Threat of attendance shortage, denial of opportunities, non-attestation of fellowship forms, preferential treatment from the socially privileged students, denying infrastructure facilities, language-based discrimination. So there are n number of things which I try to document. I try to brought into this even if not only among the peer group but also from the teachers. Okay, and then what should I tell? There are n number of things. Half of the questionnaire only which I try to explain. Yeah, and I tried to brought the administrative and supervisor related concerns. How supervisors they try to what is the parameters that they do supervise? How much support do they get from their supervisor? What is the social background of the supervisor? Because to understand who perpetuates more discrimination. Okay, and what are the following? How do they view the following activities when it comes to meeting their supervisor? More frequently, meeting at odd times, receiving calls, messages odd times, non-academic interactions, holding meetings outside the campus, supervisors try to get emotional sympathy, and all these things which I tried, because there are, if you look into the science disciplines and more professional courses disciplines, where you can see the young this girl who committed suicide in IIT Chennai. I forgot her name, and that reflects how supervisor was so brutal when it comes to these minorities, Dalit students in the campuses. And one can witness, and what are the ways of surveillance? When it comes to administration, they keep on surveillance on you. Okay, whether you are part of any agitations, or whether you are part of any kind of things that is happening in the campus lives. So therefore, all kinds of these things which I have taken as part of my study. Well, anyway, then interpersonal relationships is one interesting thing which I have studied. That whether how whom they interact, whom they talk, whom they move around, and the interpersonal relationship between boys and girls belongs to different castes, and how do they social gathering and and their activisms, all these things which makes them whether they're comfort in these spaces or not. And finally, what I did, I tried to look into the idea of stigma and humiliation, whether how this operates at them in the university spaces, who from whom they get support when they face this kind of problem, okay, and who stands with them, with whether students organizations and the role of students unions and different groups within the campuses, families, or other kind of organizations. So therefore intercaste relationship within the university spaces I map across the caste, and also within the caste, which I try to figure out. And finally, redressal mechanisms. What role that whether they really need any kind of legal and institutional remedy to prevent this to deal with the cases of discrimination. So majority of the students, though I have not really projecting the data, at least 70% of the students said that yes, it is necessary, and therefore Thorat also, Thorat committee and Thorat, Professor Thorat, who keeps on insisting that yes, there must be a kind of legal kind of intervention, legal act which is essential to deal with issues of discrimination. All these same things should be brought in. And lastly, which I would like to focus is that to finish this study, though while going on through this questionnaire, and when we studied this questionnaire in detail, like we have 104, 105 major questions with different kind of sub questions, and with 525 entries with 31 pages of questionnaire, which really helped me to enrich this study with the secondary sources on caste, ideas on reservation, merit, stigma, humiliation, and exclusion, apart from conceptual works theorizing this attack. In fact, blogs like in recent past with social media posts, blog writings, and online portals. Roundtable India has really helped me a lot. In fact, Roundtable India has come continuously, that perhaps that's the only online blog portal which has continuously exposed the dominant spaces within the university as a dominant space dominated by the caste privileged communities within codes. So therefore, I picked up social media posts, blog writings, online portals, and also there are these writings have been utilized to recover the lived experiences of students. Some successful in their career, a few who dropped out even committed suicides. So therefore, across all institutions, what we faced, what problem our team faced is that girl students pursuing sciences and professional courses, both at the master's level and research level, were disinclined to responding, saying that they might get into trouble. Okay, so our team was forced to go to their houses. Sometimes outside the campus we visited and we took the surveys. Okay, so therefore what we did in all these selective universities with this questionnaire, we tried to map out the direct or indirect, intended or unintended, consciously or subconsciously done, practice this discrimination, and also attempted to study those who are practiced institutionally, structurally, or aided by socially superior communities in these academic spaces. Therefore, as I said, with all kinds of methodological experiments, I brought this interpreted phenomenological analysis, and it has been utilized to unraveling the field data and narratives. And while doing this, I felt strongly that yes, there must be a chapter on suicides and or / institutional murders. I picked up 6 major concerns which dragged the attention of the nation. So that I came out with a separate chapter in this book on suicides, where till now student suicides has never become the subject of research of the sociologists, the so-called sociology discipline. And at the end, when Professor Satish Deshpande was trying to give me the input of his own understanding of this entire manuscript, he said that you need to bring out what is your share in this entire discourse. Like, why don't you, he suggested me to bring out a chapter, which is second chapter, which talks about, the data on the secondary data or the primary data that has been identified by these, All India reports on higher education. So that, I tried to look into the data, both scheduled caste and other categories in all disciplines, from joining, from admissions to the teachers' recruitment and different disciplines and professional courses and other professional courses to see the factual data. And this is what the consents. So therefore, the first chapter, which talks about the theoretical underpinnings and the methods and other things, the second chapter talks about, the data, scheduled castes are this many, and what happened, whether they were able to get their own due in the institutions of higher learning, both in the context of reservations and also the recruitments. And then the third chapter talks about my own field, and which has been substantiated by the other studies, other articles, and other. There are a number of people who wrote on this, so therefore I got it. And then the fourth chapter is on narratives of around 22 narratives I picked up, and I documented it as a separate chapter. And then the fifth chapter is on suicides, and the sixth chapter is on conclusion. So, methodologically, I try to bring different kind of, concerned issues within this discourse. I hope I have, so therefore, scholars who are trying to do research on these issues need to be deeply connected with the original concerns of the problems. That will really help the students to bring out, not only on these issues, anytime, conventionally what we are trained in the university spaces is that, okay, this is the method and which you have to follow. And we blindly go and we follow those kind of methods. That should not be the way of doing research. So owning the research is the first thing. If you own the research, then you will come out with a very interesting arguments and outputs. So therefore, this research is an outcome of a decade, I can say more than a decade, and it has been owned by my own team. Otherwise, these interesting narratives would have not been, brought up. I have, in fact, at the end, my team was so insistent that, you need to come out, you need to bring out this as a book. And I never been behind the publishers to publish this book. Fortunately, before the pandemic, I got a mail from Rutledge, and then I thought, okay, chalo, let me do this. So therefore, this book comes out. So there would be a lot of methodological lackings in my book. Okay, I would be very happy if, many of you can go through it. It is freely available, it seems, though it is being circulated among, a number of people they can read, but, somewhere that, I still feel that, I have used only 20% of data to come out with. Imagine there is another 80% of data which one can seriously work and brought these discrimination practices in the campuses. So thank you so much. Sorry, I took another 10 to 15 minutes more. My apologies for this.
No, sir, it's absolutely fine. It has been a really enriching discussion methodologically as well, because the range of methods that you have used, and also more importantly, the non-fixity of one particular method is I believe has been an important point. The floor is now open for discussion. So Nasreen, Professor Nasreen, ma'am is here with her question. Ma'am, you can please come up for the question.
Hi everyone, sorry I kind of invaded your space, and I thought, I won't be able to hear Sukumar when he is having his talk on Wednesday. So hi Sukumar. So I was very intrigued, as you know, this is a very interesting area of research and a very timely and important one. I'm just curious that whether you had any plans to extend this work further in a very different way and perhaps look into other educational institutions that exist, not, or maybe universities or not universities of a kind, or maybe schools, maybe in a learning institutions which are of different kind. So that's something something for you to think over. The second aspect I was curious was, given that you've done so much work with your team, is there any intergenerational aspect to it?
Oh, yes.
Meaning, mapping discrimination is a very, very important aspect and a very troubling exercise. So I was kind of curious to know that in your narrative or narratives, were you able to locate such phenomena? And I don't mean in the familial sphere, but within the narrative, if there is an intergenerational approach to it. And if so, that again would be another very interesting aspect, if you could just elaborate on that. Again, apologies, I just wanted to kind of, hear you, of course, and then also, given the fact that Wednesday I won't be available, I just wanted to, alert you to some of the, possible areas that might interest you also. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasreen, for that question. Yeah. Should I, Akanksha, should I respond now, or should I collect some more questions if there are any questions?
Sir, you can respond now.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Nasreen, for this. Yes, in my narratives, a couple of narratives, the respondents who come from second generation or third generation. And they both are interestingly girls. And they have explained in detail that, why do you, I mean, in their own words, they say that, why do you want to pack ourselves in samosas, chudidars, and samosa packed, dresses? This is the exact words which they have used. They said that these campuses belongs to each and every one. And as a second generation researchers, they were so confident. So they were so articulative about the spaces and their further future about dealing with these kind of concerns is really eye-opening. So therefore, and interestingly, one girl is from the Dalit Christian background and one girl is a Dalit Hindu background. So I tried to see that how did this, Dalit Christian, even religious identity, like Dalit Christians also were, how over a period of time within the campuses, certain, like when this girl explained that, perhaps, she said that, the conversion has really emancipated them by adopting, certain major changes within their life works. So therefore, yes, there is a concerned couple of narratives are there which talks about different generations. That is one thing. And of course, I will be extending this. In fact, if I keep on working on this same data, I can come out with one or two other volumes. But yes, there is a possibility. And in fact, now I am working on, for one of the group which they are working on this higher education, they want us, in fact, I am writing a chapter with Shailaja, and minority students, they are coming out with a volume on minority students in campuses, higher educational campuses. So based on 4 to 5 questionnaire, I am trying to develop a paper for that. So therefore, yes, I will be trying to look into the religious minorities. Now how these religious minorities are also facing similar kind of problems. When I explained this research before coming out as a book, so many students who belongs to these, minorities like Christians, Muslims, and linguistic minorities like, like wherever the dominant English language or Hindi medium students who comes in, so they all try to, own this, kind of, studies. So I am thinking to, extend this but also in IITs and IIMs. I would like to focus. I'm trying to approach few funding agencies. Probably I would be looking into extending this study. Yeah, and I will be missing you on Wednesday. The Wednesday talk would be more explosive, bringing everything into the classroom, into the within the discourse. But anyway, I hope somebody will record it, and we will try to facilitate that.
That will be good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nasri, for this. Yeah, Jitendra Paswan asked something. India got independence in 19, but Dalits when get independence for caste discrimination. See, look, until caste remains, this kind of. See, we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. We are valorizing it. We are romanticizing it. Now everybody has to, that you have to hold the Tiranga to prove your national identity. But I would have been very happy that if government would have, campaigned for distributing the constitution and conveying that, look, the idea of freedom is something to enshrine the constitutional values for all these, citizens outside the campus and also within the campus. So the freedom is highly, still is yet to be achieved. And shamelessly, the university communities who try to be part of this dominant narrative of freedom need to question themselves whether they are really free or they are really making others are they making campuses as free spaces, the spaces where freedom can flourish for negotiating the ideologies. Issues of caste can be debated without any kind of fear. So therefore, this idea of freedom, it is, constitutionally it is guaranteed. There was a struggle. But who is curtailing this freedom? Why is this caste discrimination and untouchability is still persisting? It is because of the mindset. It is because of the anti-reservation mindset among the professors within the university spaces. It is the patriarchal, male-dominant attitudes that which is, making these kind of things, prevail in the campus life. You should see the power relationships. Vandana, there is a scholar, there is a faculty who is in CWS who came out with a very interesting narratives of, gender discrimination of Banaras Hindu University. So the more studies will come up. One researcher from Montreal University is studying first Dalit women researchers and the problem of discrimination in university spaces. There is one girl who is studying from some other university. I don't want to name these universities precisely to protect the identity of, especially when it comes to Indian context, the sensitivities of this issue. And this girl is studying both universities and, a couple of professional institutions. And more studies are coming out. To expose these brute realities of the academic spaces, who never want to acknowledge this problem as a problem, which still prevails. So therefore, one needs to come out. Therefore, what happens? Yes, for independence from caste discrimination can be addressed, or untouchability practices can be addressed by coming out with some solidarity groups, networking these solidarity groups, standing with the people who are facing this problem, exposing the brute realities of this shameless, people who perpetuates this kind of discrimination. There would be contestations, there would be problems, there would be, all kinds of, fines can be slammed on the student groups, like what happened in JNU. 10,000, 20,000 fines will be slammed. In fact, one of the questions I asked within the campuses when it comes to surveillance, that, administration, it doesn't allow certain groups to, participate in these debates and discussions and, being part of the process. So therefore, consolidating or, becoming part of this social solidarity, networking, and, there are many people who are coming out with some kind of, online interventions and also protecting these groups. What happened in the race context in American universities when it comes to Afro-Americans, especially when it comes to the race, and that kind of network is yet to be built in this country. So therefore, yes, we needs to talk, we needs to debate, we need to expose these harsh realities so that at least there will be a kind of time when these problems can be addressed. These problems can be addressed. Yes, someone raised Ganesh, I think. I have a question. Ganesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. After listening you, it seems that the book is empirically grounded actually, and I have no question but I have some doubts, two doubts. First is when you are employed the research in the university campuses, you as a researcher and you as a stakeholder of the university itself, like professors. So how do you tackle such kind of I don't know for you what is this, how do you look this, but for me it is creating in my mind a kind of ethical dilemma to conduct these two positions in the same time, like as a researcher to deal with this aspect and as a stakeholder of the same institutions. This is one queries, like doubts I have. And second is, how do you actually capture the lived experiences of the various students, because everybody have no same experience what I am actually thinking, despite they belongs to a same homogeneous category like Dalits. Even you have taken various other categories like gender and also other category what recently have told. So how do you capture all these experiences of these students in a single category, or do you articulate it in a different way? This is my two queries actually, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, quickly, because also we are running out with time. I think I know the organizers, they have much time. Otherwise, let me quickly, get back to the ethical dilemma. Look, everything, it's personal is political. I don't care. By using my own being as a faculty, that yes, I am intended to question the system. In fact, my role as an observer in different interviews that which we go when it comes to admissions, or when it comes to screening, or when it comes to all kinds of admissions or other recruitments, it is precisely the role of the observer to look into whether discrimination is happening or not, to look into the other, what kind of body language which they are trying to project in front of the candidate. So therefore, in one of my interviews in my own department, I questioned the VC nominee that when they started reading about the candidate's background, and the candidate's background in the sense which college they come from, or which background they come from, whether first class or distinction, whether this class, this college, that college, I said, sorry, please hold on. As an observer, I said, I have a different role to play. I said, you are trying to perpetuate a kind of stigmatized idea before the candidate is being interviewed. So you come with a preconceived notion when you look into all these things. I said, you do this, but later on after the candidate leaves, once if you take a decision, or even before the taking a decision, but you need to evaluate as a fellow faculty about the assessment of the candidate. Now, there is nothing called, ethical dilemma here. I am very clear about my own role, who represents community to quota, because I am a reserved quota child. Even still, I looked it as a reserved quota child, not a meritorious, kind of, individual. Fine, I don't care about it. So therefore, I am representing the community where I come from, and I am representing the problem where I can articulate it, and I can, as a first generation of Dalit learner or a scholar, and it is my role to play a very important role in these institutions of higher learning, number one. Number two, as a researcher, from the, when I joined in, as I said that, the Mandal Commission has made me, because there was a complete division within the campuses, pro-Mandal, anti-Mandal. So you need to take a position, and you need to, negotiate your space within the campus life. So therefore, when I am trying to, bring my, as a researcher and as a teacher, I got these both experiences can be part, which can become a very interesting, concepts. So therefore, ethical dilemma is that, I myself has been questioned many times, and also the answer is very simple, that if I don't speak, who speak? Who will speak? Whose subject domain is the... I'm not saying that, I'm again not bracketing the discipline domain or subject domain that only these people should speak. I will be very happy that others start speaking about these issues. Therefore, this question never arose in my mind at all. Maybe, for other, they might say that, think that, there is an ethics that as a teacher, how you can speak. As a professor in the university, how you can speak against the institution. Hyderabad University has completely, in fact, informally they banned me by not even allowing me to go and speak in their institution, which I don't care. Even I am making more enemies rather than friends with this book. I am happy with making more enemies. Okay? So that, at least the enemy is feeling insecure about certain concerns which I am raising. And the second question, capturing experiences. Look, I have seen, I have witnessed, I have heard, and I experienced myself. So therefore, it's a journey from 1991 to 2001 as a researcher, and from 2001 as a faculty in Delhi University, which I have witnessed, which I have, spoke, and I have, came across with any number of things. So therefore, and many students who try to talk to me, interact with me, all these kind of, everyday concerns, debates, discussions, and the team members who went to the field, came back, they owned it, they started emotionally, they become so emotional, the team becomes so emotional that, therefore they try to, yes, we need to come out with, seriously with such kind of, outputs. So the experiences minutely, we try to map, but I'm still saying that yet to do much, much more on these things, okay? So probably I'll be taking this ahead. And there is a question, maybe I think I'll address the question and in the box, and then I'll go back again. There are two people who raised it there. Hello sir, as you say, this caste discrimination campuses because of rabbinical mindset. Well, if you stand to understand this caste discrimination campuses after EWS reservation, how can we see any change in the mindset of discriminated people? Can you suggest any specific methodology which can help us to understand this? Look, I don't think that there will be a major change in the mindset of discriminated people after coming of this EWS reservation. Look, for them, EWS reservation doesn't fall under the idea of stigmatized identity. For them, for the other, EWS reservation is an entitlement. It is not a charity. It is an entitlement for them. So therefore, they say that, yes, EWS reservation is there. So therefore, socially we are not under privileged. So because of our class position, because of the economic category or economic concerns, we are entitled. The certain communities are entitled. So therefore, that doesn't fall into a major stigmatized. So if you look into, see what happened in Delhi University, like, the moment EWS category, comes in, every college started implementing EWS before implementing the SC/ST reservations, which has a lot of backlog vacancies. So for them, for the institutions of privilege within codes, for them, EWS falls under the privileged category. Or, charity. It is a kind of entitlement. Okay? So therefore, there is not much change one can see. But can you say what you ask, a specific methodology which can have? So you can try to probe that. Is there a difference between the EWS community, EWS groups who are trying to utilize reservation benefits, and SC, STs, OBCs using reservation as a benefit or as an entitlement? You try to see that how they see this. In general, how people within the universities see these two reservations. So caste becomes a major concern when it comes to SC, ST. So therefore the stigma, this kind of hate among these people will be prevailed. But for EWS category, they will, my assumption is that there will be a response from the same people, say that it is not a charity, it is their entitlement, because they will try to say that the other has been availing reservations for so many years, so forth, so many years. So therefore, this EWS has become a mandatory thing within courts again for the institutions, so that they can justify this EWS thing. But one good thing is that everybody has become a quota children. So in your questionnaire also you can try to ask that whether really this idea of quota, what is the idea of quota? If you start and if you cross-examine this, their opinion with other categories, probably you might get some kind of interesting resolution. Marepalli Rana, Jayjin sir, how do you define Dalit meritocracy? In Delhi University, scheduled caste from first generation obviously facing many problems to get to see Delhi University. By competing with well-settled scheduled caste children, do we have any emerging strata and scheduled caste? Can I take it as? Yeah, of course. That is what, merit is highly problematic word. Okay, so therefore we should not get into that trap, number one. Number two, yes, there are people within the category who thinks that they are meritorious in comparison with other. Okay, other in the sense within the community. Whether it is same caste or whether the subcaste or so on and so forth. There are many other subcastes also within that category. Okay, how one can address this problem? This problem can be addressed by taking a kind of moral concepts that yes, as a second generation or third generation Dalit who has availed the provision of reservations and reached to a particular stage need to be left that provision and given extended towards to the people who come from the same category or the same subcaste category. So until unless this kind of things cannot be taken as a moral concepts, okay, problems will remain. Problems will remain, and one needs to address this. These are very interesting things, Pranay. These are internal critique of the community concepts. It is very important to address this, kind of, problems. So, it's not only Delhi universities. It is every higher educational institution is, experiencing such kind of things. So, this kind of discrimination also. So, therefore, in my responses, there were not less than 13 to 14 responses. They said that yes, discrimination happens within the caste. And also the class, within the caste and within the class. The bureaucrat background, students, still they want to avail reservations. And the, class 1, class A job, holders of the second generation, they still want to avail these reservations. So somewhere that, the internal critique and the ethical concerns plays a very important role. And therefore, you and me, people like us, we should convey the message to the, again, within the courts, from the privileged background within Dalits, privileged in the sense class privileged. So they need to fit so that there should be a more flow of first generation students coming into the classroom is very important. Srinivas sir, yeah, you have raised a very interesting, important question. Medical profession, myself faced a lot of discrimination. Yeah, of course. And this is therefore when I mentioned about Thorat committee's report, which he talks extensively about aims, the suicides that this Balmukund and many other Meena, and there is another boy Meena who has committed suicide, and Thorat came out with a very interesting things. But still the situation is yet to be openly debated. Much recently, there are some SC/ST faculty in AIMS has come up with an organizations. Okay, IITs are coming out with some Dalit teacher associations or solidarity groups. Much recently. So see Vardhaman Mahavir Hospital, which I mentioned about 25 students were completely failed continuously for 2 years. So medical institutions like Payal Tadvi is the best example one can see. I can understand the discrimination which you have experienced in this profession, but one can again address this problem is that how we build solidarity within these institutions. I'm just saying that it's not that only solidarity, not only medical institutions. Now, every corner, from every corner, the groups need to come together, extend our, strength, and show a strength towards to the person who is victimized of this discrimination. So that somewhere a confidence level can be given. Else, what happened with this teacher who committed suicide in Jammu University? The other things is yet to come. There was a number of issues that happened in Jammu University even before. But why this professor committed suicide? And is it the death? Is it politics of is it politics? Is it not politics of presence is important rather than politics of silence, or rather than?
Sir, actually, I am from Jammu University.
Yes, Sunit. Yeah, please go ahead. Please, if you have anything to share, I will be very happy. Yeah, please.
Actually, sir, we get to know about this on 7th September that this has happened in university.
Okay.
But the internal murmurings among the scholars, like SC scholars, are that Professor Chandrasekhar ji belonged to a particular category. He was from SC. So that is why he was discriminated against, and he was also going to become HOD of that department from 30 September onwards. So this is a case of lobbying, this is a case of caste discrimination, and that is what has happened there, sir. And there is many things are there that points out that something is fishy, like there are procedural lapses. The committee that was constituted it was named as Caste Committee. Even the quorum, I think, was not followed, because there are 7 members in that committee, and those who gave decision were only 3. And Professor Chandrasekhar ji was also not allowed to give his representation. In Indian Constitution, there is a proper procedure. Like Article 20 say that prevention in respect of conviction of offences. So he was not even allowed to say anything about that case. And at the same time, he was having he didn't came there overnight. He was doing his duty from 15 to 16 years there. And how come that all of these 24 of these girls came, and they all of a sudden came with a case against him? So this is something, sir, and I'm in that university from 4 or 5 years. We have faced a lot of these type of things. But before listening to that, listening to you, now I have been able to understand that how this discrimination process works. There are many examples like this in that university side, like the canteens in university. They are not allotted to SC, STs. The other jobs, like even the watchmen, even the security guards, they all belong to same caste. That is how caste system works in Jammu University. And there was also a professor in our department. I am from Department of History. I remember that someone told me that when some SC student went to him for his signature, he just threw away his documents because he was from particular caste, he was SC. So that is how it works. So this is something that is going on in this university. But the problem is, sir, as you know, that region is also one of the important factors when we have to look at caste, because in other parts of India, people are very well organized. In this part, we are not that much organized. So it's like, and we are going to formally launch tomorrow. We are going to launch our organization. We are going to do this. But sir, my question was different. I mean, someone asked in the context of independence that when we will get independence, and you said that we are conducting, many studies are coming. But sir, the problem with the research studies, research in itself is an elite discourse, and it will take a lot of time. I mean, when the mainstream media is not doing this, let me give an example of this Professor Chandrasekhar ji.
No, you just ask question. I'll explain.
Yeah. this Professor Chandrasekharji issue has not been mentioned even in national media, with the exception of NDTV. But at the same time, there was a case in this university that was fabricated one against a Muslim professor that was reported in so-called national media, and that was given a lot of attention. But when it comes to Dalits, they are not even mentioned. It shows that we people are not even considered as part of that national discourse.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm cutting short you because
I'm sorry to interrupting all of you. We request participant to be very precise. We are running behind the time, so please be precise and be okay.
Yeah, sir, how is this going to change lives?
Yeah, okay, Sunil Kumar. I'll address. Vidya, how long you have time?
Sir, we will take Saurya and Anjali. She raised their hands since long back.
And also,
so,
I'll quickly address. I'll quickly address everybody because no one.
Saurya and Anjali. Saurya.
Wait. Let me, Sunil. I mean, see, I'm happy that you are there and you try to brought some light on the issue, what is happening there, and on the first of all, I also have that. Doesn't have much more detailed thing. Maybe probably I'll contact someone like you. If you can text me your number, I'll be in touch with you so that we can talk about it. Sure. Number two, you said that yes, region is very important. I was in Kashmir to sensitize all your social welfare officers last month, talking about these issues, and many of these officers are very not at all interested to listen because caste in Kashmir prevails much less. At least in Jammu, this problem is there. So, of course, region is very important where now, because of the statehood, government also is very interested to bring this SC/ST Atrocities Act and how it needs to be addressed, and all these things are very much into the domain. And therefore, I'm happy that, you people are launching some organizations in this university. So therefore, the outcome is there. Listening to this I'm feeling so happy. At least tomorrow there will be some kind of concerns or that can be, the shoulder can be extended towards to people who are suffering with such kind of things.
Yes.
And the media, of course, media is completely biased. If you look into when I said that blogs, social media posts, many works which I have depended is on these social media posts, blogs, and many other things. In mainstream print journals and other things, they don't have. And also, the idea of merit, quality, and other things, there is no space for Dalit students to come out, articulate their own problems. When I wrote my 4-page article in EPW, that one of my own professor who said that who literally mocked, saying that, oh, your article has been published by EPW, my own colleague. Okay, so therefore, media, print media, publication industry, everything is full of casteist forces. So therefore, we need to use alternative platforms, like, for example, how speaking from margins like Vidyasagar is doing a wonderful job, exposing these kind of things. So you people can start, you people can campaign such kind of things in your university. Online, you have, free online facilities, you can do that. Now, quickly, Akanksha Kapoor, thank you so much for. I'll come back to the people who raised their hands, but sir, do you think that the very acknowledgement or categorization of students or people at large into caste groups is one of the root cause behind raising discrimination? Also, since you conducted comprehensive research, what according to you could be the solution to ensure the discriminatory pathways? See, you need to develop a radical empathy. That's what I'm trying to continuously focus. How come, the racial discrimination has been addressed in Afro-American, American society. That, yes, discrimination will be there until this race and caste will be there. But how do you reduce that, the degree of, discrimination? So you need to build a radical empathy. Caste will remain until Hindu religion remains, caste will remain. That is the brutal reality. Caste will remain. But how one can address these problems within this, whether it is possible, Ambedkar long back said, Hinduism is a Hindu religion which perpetuated this caste hierarchies, is a major concern when it comes to the question of this caste discrimination and caste concerns. So therefore, how even if we hypothetically let us see that yes, we need to address this. To address these problems, we need to develop a radical empathy. Instead of developing a radical empathy, there is a hate that is being perpetuated, and much more the right-wing politics within the university spaces. They are trying to perpetuate the intra-caste binaries, and they are saying that no, because of this they are bringing this rather than addressing the basic problem of caste discrimination. So all these things are very important. So radical empathy is good. Then BVCJKL, some name. So yeah, good. The question comes. Intra-caste issues are more dangerous to tackle than inter-caste, because in the ideal SCs are going solidarity, but the social life on solidarity and no social solidarity and it seems to me in future it will be reinforced. How do you see? Could you please say something? Look, see, there is a problem. There is a problem within the intra-caste. There are certain communities, who has already advanced and who had benefited with these reservations. So why can't this same group can really sit and negotiate? I do understand from where this question comes in. The larger Dalit movement is in deep stake within the campuses also. So, in Andhra, in Bihar, or in many other places, Dalit, Mahadalit, Mala, Madiga, or, n number of these intra-caste issues, one needs to internally address this. Instead of addressing this problem, if we shy away and if we say that no, this will become a major threat in the larger social life, until unless if we don't address, then there will be more problem for solidarity and harmony. So therefore, we need to break that. We need to break that by having again, solidarity network groups, that intra-caste solidarity network groups. We need to sit and discuss who is the common exploiter. Who is the common exploiter? Who is exploiting all these communities, in the university spaces, or even outside the university spaces? Yeah, of course, that's what, subcaste. That's what I was mentioning, Intercaste means subcaste. Like, that's what I said, Mala, Madiga, Relli, or even Dalit, Mahadalit, in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Arundhatiyars, or even other, groups in Kerala, Paraya, Pulayas, all these, things. So one need to sit and, debate. But people are not able to break the intra-caste ban. So therefore, ideologically we need to strengthen. How do we ideologically make them more convincing? That is very important. Okay. So yeah, it is. Yeah, of course, Brahminism is a core problem. But how do we address that? Is we need to break that that ideological thing is very important. Yeah. Now I would like to answer for the people who raised their hands very quickly, if it can be permitted, Vidya. Is there anyone?
Yeah.
Who wants to ask?
Anjali.
Yes, sir.
Mandal, hold for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Anjali,
Okay. Yeah. Hello, sir. It's a great opportunity for me. I'm going to be asking you a question, and it's a great lecture from your side. So you covered a lots of things about the caste system and the discrimination. I mean, what kind of actually happened through as a Dalit way. I mean, as a child you are grown up, and the whole time you're just facing about the discrimination of the religion context and caste-based. So it's as you just take about the college or university. So my question is about the like, as you already mentioned, like we never going to be any place whether replacing about the caste system is a removed, because of it's every kind of spread very well. You have to hidden your surname too also, and you can't be represent about yourself like in which caste you belong. Trying to take any job based on your hidden name, or you're just trying to be protect yourself, and people always judging based on the your caste way, and they're trying to be hired. It doesn't mean in which post you are and what is your position in that field, but you always people by the people you're harassing and the commenting and toning, and even if you can see in a college, as you just saying, like as a college way, there is a people always just told based on the you have a reservation. Reservation is a great opportunity, but it is question is so many times governments also said you have other lots of policies whom you can be just use it and you just take education very well, but it is not possible very well because there is so much hurdles there, because as a Dalit background, front of you several kinds of hurdle, whether you just first of all facing the support, your parents are not going to be educated and they are not aware about how much education is important to you, and then after you grow up and might be you're trying to be take a very good education in a higher position, hardly if you go and enter the university, so there is such kind of, as you already mentioned, and other lots of people also giving a lots of examples. Even recently we can see in Rajasthan also happened, a Dalit boy have a killed by the teacher. So it's every time happen, not about a male or a female, because of caste discrimination, harassments and so on things always happen in our society. And we always facing every time, every second, and we just find out every places.
Yes, sir.
So we can't be represent these things very easily. Even if you just trying to be inter-caste marriage too also. So there you just find out honor killing. You never accepting you are the safest any zone, right? I'm just asking, how can we deal with the caste discrimination in India? It's a very toughest question, I know.
No. The basic question, which you are raising, the basic fundamental question, See, look, there are different mechanisms. At one level, we have institutional mechanism or legal mechanisms, number one.
Yeah.
So one need to fight for through legal mechanisms. Number two, caste is prevailing. As you rightly said, it is happening everywhere, at every place, even your identities, names and everything becomes, the momentary thing, the moment you got introduced to others, your caste becomes, your basic fundamental identity. Okay? Yeah. So how do we address this? Therefore, what I mean to say is that by utilizing the constitutional provisions, the institutions, we need to through the movement, through the different policies or movement, one needs to. It's very highly, we may not able to address this problem in a day or two, but consolidating our own strength and leading towards to a kind of positive, just society is very important. See, now you raised this question, you will think about it, you will go and debate about this with others. This is the interesting starting point. So therefore, you know the answer where it is lying. So questioning, the idea of questioning is very important to address the problem. Until unless, therefore I said the politics of presence. You are representing this politics of presence. You are questioning it, you are raising it, and you want to, this debate about this. So there it starts. And so therefore this start will results towards to an end. There will be an end that where you might find an answer, because you need to fight. Everybody has to fight their struggles. So therefore consolidation, questioning is very important. Therefore movement comes in, student organizations comes in, questioning the state comes in, political parties comes in, social groups comes in, everything platforms speaking from margins, they comes in. So this is where I see that there is a positive thing towards to the problem. The problem will remain. Never think that the problem will end. Until caste remains, this problem will remain. So again, how do we address? It is all in our hands. We need to be articulative. We need to be aggressive. We need to be more forthcoming to debate and expose these problems. And if we keep ourselves quiet, educated youth keeps themselves quiet, then what will happen to the people who are still looking towards to us, who are representing in university spaces? So therefore, I place you as an answer for the problem, and you need to question. As you are questioning, you will be continuously engaged with these, concerns. Okay.
Okay. So another question is also here.
Make it very short. Make it very short because there is Rana who want to ask a question.
Yeah. Is the caste or religion discrimination is same or different?
Well, caste is part of religion. So therefore, the degree of discrimination, suppose, see now Samajika Samarasta. which is meaningless argument, like people who are saying that no, you need to read Professor Kancha Ilaya, why I am not a Hindu.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you are considered as a Hindu, but you are untouchable. So you are considered as Hindu, but you are untouchable. And you should read many RSS workers who are coming out from these RSS camps and saying that how caste operates within these religious domains, religious organizations. So therefore, it is not that, so religion and, two different things, you are asking about. Caste plays within the religious domain, number one. Caste has its own unique kind of discriminatory practices, but within the religion, if you take religion as a category, as a social component, that what we are witnessing against Hindu Muslim or against Hindu Christians or against Buddhist and Hindu Buddhist, all these things has its own. It all depends on what kind of concerns where these religious groups are trying to bring. So discrimination, like you are trying to bar all kinds of provision opportunities that Muslims are happen to be gained, or the way that how Christians are also being questioned in this country. In this study, which has been exposed, Hindu Dalit girls questioning Dalit Christian girls in this study, which I have exposed. So therefore, caste and religion, there are discrimination as such it prevails. It has its own common thing, but it depends on social categories, social groups, and social concerns. It happens.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Brunal, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So, sir, during my introduction, actually, I have missed on 2 points. Just I want to cover them and pose a question at the end. So, in one of your subchapters, which was what is in name, actually, I recall one of my experiences when I was in Delhi. So, we were 3 who were roaming aimlessly just to kill time, and we went to Jantar Mantar. And the 2 other people, they have said their names to the security guard, who was just noting names in the notebook. And when I said my name, and he was like, oh, Rana Saab, okay. A sudden sort of this thing. And when I checked his name on the shirt, like it has Sharma on it. So yeah, when I read that chapter, what is in name, I kind of recalled that. And the second one is, sir, I was there at CDS during the book presentation, and I just wanted to take a jibe at the professor who questioned about writing good professors. Like, it's like, I kind of got it. Like, during Me Too movement, so there is this hashtag, circulated, not all men. So yeah, when the professor, who shall be remain nameless, when he questioned about why not to write about good professors, yeah, I kind of juxtaposed these 2 events. So yeah, good professors, we can write about good professors, but here we are not here to praise the songs for the good professors. We are here to write the struggles of our students, like who are from the margins. And the question here, sir, so quoting from the book, the neoliberal regime is gradually withdrawing from investment in public institutions. There is this kind of stuff. So I want to know about your take on our intermediate colleges. So whatever we have gone through the book, it's about higher education, so about the universities and stuff. Here I want to exclusively know about the intermediate colleges back in our states, like Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Also here in North, we have Kota in Rajasthan. So these 2 colleges, the intermediate stage, +1 and +2 stage. And so how do we have to see the protest of Tamil Nadu government against the NEET in the night of the student suicide?
No, see, there are 2-3 things which, one, what happens with the intermediary colleges? Yes, there are, when it comes to, so therefore this intermediary colleges, whether they are colleges with different discipline backgrounds, like arts, humanities, sciences, all those disciplines are there, and they do experience these things. They do experience all these problems. It is not that, see, the moment you try to finish your schooling level and move towards to the college level, this problem persists. This problem aggravates because of the idea of reservations, quota, because you have to fill the seats. So when it comes to filling the seats, there will be a huge resistance from the other categories, that okay, these people are encroaching into the domains. Okay, so that happens in the intermediary colleges also, and many engineering and medical colleges, these are all intermediary colleges, professional colleges, where in Tamil Nadu, lot of the change that has been neat policy has comes in, and then people who are from lesser marginal income groups or even caste groups, they were not able to withstand the pressure of the policy or the larger competitive concerns. So therefore the Tamil Nadu government stand is very clear that look, with this you are creating more binaries, and you are trying to push certain communities who doesn't have much income sources to withdraw themselves from these courses, and you are trying to prevent opportunities for certain groups to reduce their participation into these spaces. Okay, so therefore in Tamil Nadu, from these intermediary colleges and professional colleges, there were more suicides. Okay, so how one needs to understand this is not even in schools. This girl, this Anjali was mentioning about, everyone knows that what happened with a school boy in Rajasthan, and after that in UP, everywhere, that from school towards to till and one needs to expose these harsh realities from school, how this idea of discrimination is being imbibed in the minds of the young children, and therefore the parents practice, the children practice, and it continues. Therefore, I that's what I said. Universities are the microcosm of the social groups, where the caste comes in, and the caste operates, and the caste becomes the idea within the classroom space or within the university spaces. So therefore, that is where even Tamil Nadu government's intervention is to not to take over the educational autonomy that has been given to state subject as a state subject. Okay, so now one nation, one exam, and we are all experiencing the problems which we are experiencing today now. So we need to question these things, and I'm happy that young students like you are all raising these concerns. So therefore, to see, many people might be thinking that what is going to happen, whether will be there any change. Of course there will be a change. Of course there will be a change, if not at a policy level, there would be a group who can resist against these kind of policies, these kind of practices. Okay, this is what exactly it is important. Therefore, this kind of interventions is very important, what I personally feel. And I have hope. I live with hope rather than dying with hopeless. I think Vidya, I am also exhausted. So
so we have had a number of questions, and I think this book will definitely be a success. Not I don't know about, because the thing is that it has been able to provoke so many questions and so many ideas that I believe this is the best benchmark.
and once again, thank you so much for, and I love to speak for young students, because they are the more future of this country. Thank you so much.
And thank you to Rana for this discussion, and all the participants as well. The upcoming discussion will be on the book Dilapidation of the Rural Development Politics and Farmer Suicides in India. So we invite you for the same. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Shall I sign off? Thank you so much, and best of luck for all of you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.